Mother accidentally stepped on and tore a sheet of music worth 30,000. She just glanced at it and casually tossed it on the ground. But her son picked it up like a treasure. From the shattered silver notes, he glimpsed an invention that could overturn his entire world. He quickly found the action movie he had just filmed and used tools to punch many small holes in the film. In this way, he successfully created a firelight effect in the movie, which amazed everyone in an era without special effects. The next day, while filming, he had a new inspiration. He first set up wooden planks in a pit, then sprinkled sand on top. When stepped on, it could simulate a battlefield filled with landmine explosions and smoke. Then he buried firecrackers underground. As long as the timing was right, the effect of machine guns sweeping the ground would also appear. He also filled balloons with red ink to simulate blood, allowing actors to burst them when shot, making the scene more realistic. However, Sammy still felt something was missing, so he found a soldier to add a scene. "You play the officer of these men," he said. "These people are your family, fighting for you. This was a battle that could have been avoided, but because of your decision, they all died heroically for you." The soldier understood and then walked out from the ruins filled with soldiers' bodies, filled with a sense of sadness. The desert was full of fallen brothers, and the soldier walked alone through this line of the dead. Sammy watched the man's back, completely shocked. A feeling of loneliness and sorrow arose, and the soldier was even more trapped in pain, as if it had all really happened. Until Sammy called cut, everyone resumed their actions, but the soldier couldn't come out of the scene. Soon, the film Sammy shot was shown at school. The intense battlefield felt so immersive that the audience was captivated. They watched the spurting blood and tragic deaths without blinking, which greatly shocked their young minds. The final lonely figure of the soldier moved everyone present to tears, including Sammy's mother. After the screening, she rushed to Sammy, wanting to praise her son's achievement, but she turned away in disdain. Even the uncle, who had cared for her in every way since childhood, walked past her directly. She didn't know what was wrong because she had always been the one who supported Sammy's filming the most. However, what she didn't know was that it was her support that led Sammy to discover the secret between her and the uncle. Remembered from many years ago. The first time his parents took him to see a movie, the realistic train crash scene left him utterly amazed. On the way home, he couldn't calm his bright blue eyes, still captivated by that scene. So, he asked his father for a holiday gift, a miniature train set. When he got the gift, an excited Sammy started the train, and as it came towards him, the cinematic thrill surged through him again. To recreate the movie scene, he secretly took out his toy cars at midnight. Unexpectedly, the impact and the sound of the shelves toppling attracted his parents. His father, an engineer, could only think rationally and saw it as Sammy's prank, scolding him to take care of his toys and go to sleep. Although Sammy agreed verbally, he couldn't stop thinking about the train collision. His mother, a pianist, didn't see it the same way. Sensitive and thoughtful, she couldn't help but ponder why her son was fascinated by the crash. So, the next day, she brought out her husband's camera and asked Sammy to film the train collision. This way, she could watch it repeatedly until she was no longer afraid. With his mother's support, Sammy developed his first film. The moment he got the film, he couldn't even wait to eat before inviting his mother to watch it with him. To their surprise, the film perfectly recreated the train derailment scene. The lights flickered across their faces like a dream. Sammy would later become the great director Spielberg. This is a true autobiographical story. After watching, his mother gave Sammy high praise. She became unstoppable, and his two sisters became his regular actors. To mimic the effect of a bleeding tooth extraction, she would give her sister a big spoonful of ketchup and have the other sister play the dentist. The younger sister's horrific screams frightened their mother downstairs. But she was very patient with the children, which made Sammy even more fearless. He used up all the toilet paper in the house, wrapping it around his sisters to film a mummy death scene. Meanwhile, their mother, stuck in the bathroom, could only wait helplessly for rescue. Sammy even rigged a skeleton to pop out of the closet with a pull of a string to capture his sister's genuine reactions, scaring them into loud screams. As Sammy's filming techniques matured, his father's career was also advancing rapidly. Due to a job transfer, the family had to move with him. After being away from life for many years, the Shinji family heads to beautiful Arizona. Just as the family is excited about the unknown, the mother is only concerned about whether the uncle will join them. Because unlike her rational and dull husband, the uncle is a humorous and romantic man who always knows how to comfort her during tedious household chores. When she learned that the uncle would part ways with them, the mother had an emotional argument with the father. Upon seeing a tornado in the sky, she immediately placed the youngest child in her husband's arms and then, disregarding the danger, drove off with the 3 children to chase the tornado. It was only when she saw shopping carts from the supermarket racing down the street that she realized the danger and stopped. Sensing the sadness inadvertently revealed by his whimsical and romantic wife, the father finally chose to compromise. He used his position to have the uncle transferred along with him. The mother, who got what she wanted, smiled with unusual happiness, but Sammy didn't know how many secrets were hidden in her smile. In the new city, Sammy continued to pursue his dream of filmmaking. After entering high school, He had no interest in discussing crushes with his peers and was solely focused on the big screen. Here, he found a group of like-minded friends. One day, inspired by a movie, he decided to make his own film about desert bandits. To help Sammy achieve his dream, the whole family pitched in to assist with the filming. The father helped kick up sand to create a stormy effect while soothing the carriage owner's dissatisfaction. Due to outdated props and technology, Sammy found the gunfight scenes looked too fake. While he was troubled by this, his mother accidentally stepped on and tore a sheet of music with her high heels. Looking at the small hole in the sheet music, Sammy was struck with new inspiration. He then punched small holes in the film, which led to him winning an award for the first time for his filmmaking. Although the father appreciated Sammy's talent, he didn't want him to become obsessed, as filmmaking was an expensive hobby. Nevertheless, to celebrate Sammy's award, he took the family and the uncle camping on the weekend. At the campsite, Sammy seized every minute to film. The naturally rigid father earnestly shared life lessons with the children, while the mother and uncle played around a tree. Before long, the children's laughter was also drawn in by the joyful sounds of the two. One by one, they abandoned their father and joined their mother's side. Although the father was somewhat displeased, he said nothing. That night at the bonfire party, the uncle took the lead as the main singer. With his cheerful singing, he led the innocent children in dancing, while the father sat quietly on the side. Being an engineer, he didn't have much artistic talent and couldn't join in. Later, the mother, after having a bit to drink, was slightly tipsy and began dancing on the grass. At this moment, both the uncle and the father were utterly captivated, admiring the mother's graceful dance. Meanwhile, Sammy was responsible for capturing this beautiful moment. However, happy times are always too short. The next day, the sad news of the grandmother's passing came. The mother was overwhelmed with grief, unable to pull herself out of it, often losing her appetite and even playing her favorite piano pieces with a deep sense of sadness. To comfort his wife, the father hoped Sammy could edit their past camping experiences into a special feature for the mother, thinking it might cheer her up a bit. But Sammy was entirely focused on his war movie and was unwilling to spare the time. However, the next day, Sammy changed his mind. His uncle, who had worked in Hollywood, came to visit relatives, and upon learning of Sammy's passion for filmmaking, he explained to him the art of cinema and its inseparable connection to family relationships. He also told him that his mother could have been a renowned pianist but was now trapped in the confines of family life as a housewife. It was only then that Sammy realized how much his mother had sacrificed for the family. The uncle stayed for just one day but profoundly influenced Sam's values. In the time that followed, Sam decided to edit the family documentary for his mother, only to unexpectedly discover her secret. She found that her mother and uncle were very close, initially thinking it was just a coincidence that she fell into his arms, but she repeatedly changed many rolls of film and found that her mother's gaze at the uncle was always filled with love. The genuine smile couldn't lie. At that moment, she realized her family was in a deep crisis, and it made her understand that as a director, she was destined to see things others couldn't, including the truths hidden beneath the surface. Although he couldn't accept the truth at first, to protect the family, he decided to remove those clips, leaving only the warm and beautiful scenes. As expected, this film made the mother very happy. Afterwards, she was so pleased that she wanted to hug her son. But at this moment, Sammy had already developed a grudge against his mother and even started to hint that no matter what she did, he would oppose her. Finally, after a few weeks, the mother couldn't take it anymore, so she and Sammy got into a loud argument, and in a fit of anger, she slapped him. This slap shocked everyone in the family. Sammy turned around and left, his anger mixed with grievance. That bright red handprint not only became a mark on his body but also a scar on his heart. Later, the mother approached to apologize to Sammy. Sammy didn't know how to respond, but she couldn't stand her mother's actions, yet couldn't confront her directly, so she silently took out an edited tape and invited her mother to watch it alone. It was a love movie of her and her uncle, and she slowly backed out, waiting outside the door. When her mother saw the movie, she immediately understood everything, and guilt washed over her like a tidal wave. In the dim space, time seemed to freeze. Her mind went blank as she watched it to the end. Finally, she unplugged the power, crawled out of the cabinet, and burst into tears. Seeing her mother so upset, the soft-hearted Sammy promised her mother to keep the secret. Not long after, her father's job was relocated again, and this time, they needed to move to the remote west. Originally, the mother was unwilling to move, but this time she unexpectedly agreed to the plan. However, at this moment, the whole family was on the verge of breaking apart. Sammy believed that it was all caused by the camera. So, he went to the store intending to sell it, deciding never to touch movies again. But when the uncle heard they were moving, he also came to the store to give Sammy a gift. He directly gave a new camera to Sammy on the spot. However, Sammy was not grateful at all because he felt it almost destroyed his family. Just thinking about it made him feel sick. The uncle seemed to understand something and advised him that if he gave up his love for photography, his mother would be sad too. His words made Sammy hesitate, but he still didn't want to give in to his uncle. So, he took out all the cash he had and bought the camera himself. But before leaving, the uncle stuffed all the money back to him. Soon, the father took the family to their new home. On the way, the mother kept smiling, but as the car went further, her longing for the uncle grew deeper. On the way, the father said he had a strange dream where his brother gave him a green hat. Between the lines, it seemed like he had guessed something, which undoubtedly made the mother feel worse. He got out of the car, trying to hide his emotions. Sammy came to comfort the bewildered mother, who explained that she and the uncle had never crossed the line. She had wanted to discuss their issues with the father, but every time the words were on the tip of her tongue, she swallowed them back. The excellent father had no reason to leave, and she didn't want to destroy this happy family with her own hands. So, the two could only swallow their words and bury their chaotic feelings. The new family environment was not as good as before. Sammy's mother became more and more depressed, and her longing for the uncle grew deeper. No matter what the father did, he couldn't touch her soul. Clearly, the bland marriage had long diluted their past passion. But while the adults' troubles remained unsolved, Sammy's troubles also began to appear. Due to regional differences, the students at the new school were all tall and strong, while Sammy, being the only Jewish student, didn't fit in. One day while playing ball, Sammy was precisely shaken. Angry, Sammy chose to fight back on the spot but ended up provoking the school bully. The bully warned Sammy to be careful in the future, or he would give him a fatal blow while he was drinking water, knocking all his teeth out. The weak Sammy didn't dare to resist and could only swallow his anger. But when he returned home with a gloomy face, he found that his mother had raised a monkey and even named it after the uncle. For a while, the whole family was disturbed by her antics, making Sammy feel even more depressed. That night, the father thought the mother should see a psychologist, but the mother felt she was beyond help. In fact, the father had noticed her odd behavior early on, but this time's showdown also made the mother reveal her cards. Only Sammy understood the meaning behind his mother's words, but for the sake of the mother and daughter, she couldn't speak. The next day, back at school, Sammy was still on edge. In his locker, there was a prank bagel with, "Hello, Jewish old man," written on it. Even drinking water required caution, fearing those bullies would attack from behind. He planned to endure his thirst and go to class first, but accidentally stumbled upon the school bullies. Scandal at the stairway. Frightened, Sammy quickly turned and fled, only to run into the bully's friends as soon as he got out. Turning his head again, he saw the bully leading his girlfriend over, blocking her way, make it impossible for him to escape. Tied concentration he has become their entertainment show during tea breaks. But the bully's girlfriend couldn't stand it anymore, and she urged them to stop being racist. The bully had to give up harassing Sammy. Unexpectedly, the bully's friends were unwilling to give up and demanded that he immediately apologize to the bully's girlfriend. The reason was a pair of unfounded accusations. The girlfriend, strong and angry, turned and left. The bully also came over and asked Sammy to apologize to his girlfriend. Sammy finally couldn't take it anymore and directly spoke about what he saw at the stairway. This made the girlfriend even angrier. As expected, a moment of defiance only added fuel to the fire. The bully punched her to the ground. Sammy's nose bled profusely, and he didn't dare to resist. Afterwards, the bully asked her to explain to his girlfriend, admitting that it was all a lie she made up. Powerless to resist, Sammy could only nod in agreement. When Sammy returned home in a mess, his parents worriedly asked him what had happened. The result made Sammy break down completely. He vented all his anger from long-term oppression on his father, accusing him of disregarding the family's wishes and moving multiple times, which led to him being bullied for being Jewish. For the first time, the father and son confronted each other, neither willing to back down, until the moment the mother agreed to accept psychological treatment, and only then did the father and son completely cease hostilities. As time went on, Sammy could no longer endure giving up on his dreams. So, she couldn't help but open the camera's packaging, holding her beloved camera, listening to the sounds inside. The next day, she found the bully's girlfriend and explained that she lied yesterday. But the bully's girlfriend was a smart girl. "If you were lying, how did you know that the girl had red hair?" Obviously, Sammy was still not truthful. However, this incident turned out to be a blessing in disguise, as she met the bully's girlfriend's friend Monica. She was a passionate, cheerful, and kind girl who didn't mind Sammy's Jewish identity and even invited her to her home, hoping to cleanse her Jewish soul with the power of Jesus. At that moment, it was as if a beam of light pierced through the gloom in her heart. The two quickly got to know each other and kissed. Soon, Monica took the initiative to visit Sammy's home, bringing joy to the whole family, and upon learning that Sammy loved photography, she directly contributed the family's idle filming equipment and encouraged Sammy to shoot a graduation film themed skip day for the class. And so, Sammy picked up the camera again, rekindling the dream of being a director that he had once abandoned. The vibrant beach was the perfect filming location. With the brilliance of youth shining brighter than the sun, he captured a day of his classmates having fun on the beach, laughter echoing in the sky. Without dialogue, the camera was the best language, and Sammy always managed to capture the most beautiful moments. Not long after, His father saved enough money to move the family into a big house. Everyone was excited except for his mother, who could no longer bear the pain of missing her brother. She decided to confront the family about it. His sisters couldn't accept the reality and cried and made a fuss, while his father took all the blame upon himself. Only Sammy sat aside like an observer. She had anticipated this but didn't expect it to happen so suddenly. She didn't try to stop it or blame anyone because she knew her mother would leave eventually. When her sisters accused Sammy of being cold, she didn't explain much but showed them the deleted scenes from the family documentary. It was then that her sisters understood the immense pain their brother had endured. Soon, Sammy attended his high school graduation party. Everyone dressed up to show their best side. Sammy told his girlfriend he wanted to drop out and pursue his dream of filmmaking, hoping she would continue to support him. Unexpectedly, Monica had her own life plans. She returned the necklace Sammy had given her, silently ending their relationship. This was hard for Sammy to accept at first, but he understood that he had to walk his path alone from now on. After the party, the documentary he filmed was the highlight of the evening. Everyone was eagerly anticipating it, except for his stepfather, who watched the screen with concern. It was a commemorative film Sammy had made, and he feared being portrayed negatively. To his surprise, Sammy had highlighted his most handsome moments. The whole crowd cheered, and the atmosphere reached its peak. This caught the school bully off guard, and even his ex-girlfriend was captivated, rekindling their old flame and getting back together with him. After the dance, the bully confronted Sammy, questioning why she humiliated him when he had bullied her so much, yet she didn't choose to retaliate and instead portrayed him so glamorously. His guilty conscience compelled him to demand an explanation, so he kept pursuing Sammy, unwilling to leave. This persistent entanglement made Sammy finally explode, rebuking him for his unreasonable behavior. Even his own family's monkey is better than him. The reason he made the school bully into a dazzling star was just in the hope that he would be nice to him, even if only for 5 minutes. As a result, these words completely broke the school bully's defenses because he wasn't the person in the video. But that was the image he always wanted to become. The softest part buried deep in his heart was exposed by Sammy. At this moment, the school bully's friend came over. He rushed towards Sammy but was stopped by the school bully. This is the charm of movies. They can change a person and help two people reconcile. The school bully hoped Sammy wouldn't tell anyone about his sad side. In this corridor, sunlight spilled over. As they parted, the bully told Sammy that life isn't a movie. No matter how you embellish it, you can't hide the harshness of reality. But now, Sammy no longer cared about these things. They both gave each other the most polite greetings. That day, after returning home, Sammy dejectedly told his mother about being dumped. His mother comforted him, telling him to be himself and do what he wanted, to live for himself. This was also the last heart-to-heart talk between mother and son. Not long after, his parents divorced. Sammy followed his father to Los Angeles to develop, while his mother took his sisters back to New Jersey and formed a new family with his uncle. Occasionally, she would send Sammy some photos. Looking at the familiar warmth and smile in the photos, Sammy didn't know whether to feel happy or sad. His father, seeing the family photo of his ex-wife and good friend, couldn't help but feel sad. He realized that if he continued to remain unchanged, he would only bring pain to those around him. So, he agreed to Sammy's request to drop out of school. Meanwhile, Sammy received a letter from Columbia Pictures, accepting him as a photography assistant. From this moment, fate opened a door to his dreams. On his first day at work, the boss, after looking at Sammy's self-recommendation, suddenly realized and asked him if he wanted to meet a fashion icon. The greatest director. Subsequently, under the boss's arrangement, Sammy, with a nervous heart, met his idol, the great director John Ford, and got 5 minutes to talk. However, the director himself was completely different from what Sammy had imagined. He appeared silently with lipstick marks all over his face, then asked him what art was and requested him to interpret the painting on the wall behind. However, Sammy's official answer did not satisfy him. The director told him that when the horizon is at the bottom, it's interesting, and when the horizon is at the top, it's also interesting. When the horizon is in the middle, it gets extremely boring. Then, he was unceremoniously kicked out of the office by that grumpy old man. And it was this brief conversation that made Sammy realize he was in the right place. It turned out there was still so much he needed to learn. This place is so magnificent, like a holy land comparable to paradise. Looking to the future, it's more vast than the sky. If you don't believe it, just move the camera up a bit. The Fabelmans is a semi-autobiographical film directed by Steven Spielberg, starring Michelle Williams and Paul Dano, released in 2020. It is based on Spielberg's real experiences. He tells us that when light and shadow become the answer to life, we will eventually learn to reconcile with regrets. The film is not a traditional inspirational movie. It doesn't package dreams with cheap success stories but focuses the lens on the flesh and cracks behind artistic creation. The camera impartially records everything in life, whether beautiful or ugly, positive or negative. Characters equally share secrets, and the film becomes a hint for exchanging secrets. Spielberg uses almost brutal honesty to tear away the filter of genius storytelling. Behind the films applauded by audiences are a father's view of idleness, a shattered family dinner after a mother's affair, and young Sammy hiding in the attic editing film, struggling with the last bit of kindness and humanity. The most shocking moment is when Sammy discovers his mother's affair. She trembles as she raises the camera, and in the frame, her lover's face overlaps with his father's. At this moment, the film is no longer a utopia to escape reality but a mirror reflecting the chaos of human nature. Spielberg, as a dreamer, tears open the paradox between artistic creation and real life. The more we use the camera to beautify the world, the more we must face its brokenness. The core conflict of the film is the confrontation between dreaming and losing control. As a computer engineer, the father tries to construct a perfect life with logic but becomes emotionally distant from the family. When he says, "I just want to build a machine that doesn't make mistakes," we see how reason devours emotion. The mother's loss of control is her filling the void with piano and affairs, rebelling against mundane marriage with an artist's lifestyle, yet falling between desire and responsibility. The phrase, "I must live for myself," is both an awakening and the gentlest betrayal of the family. And Spielberg offers a harsh yet suggestive answer. Chaos is the norm of life. Those cracks we define as flaws are precisely where the light comes in. Just like the tornadoes that repeatedly appear in the film, they destroy homes but allow the mother to feel the freedom of chasing storms for the first time. The greatness of this film lies in showing us that the greatness and insignificance of artists, the warmth and fragmentation of family, and the brilliance and cost of dreams are always intertwined. When Sammy presses the final edit button, aren't we editing our own lives as well? Those cutscenes, those truths left unspoken, perhaps are the most genuine footnotes of life. Just as Spielberg captured this story on film, we will eventually learn to make peace with regrets, because it is those imperfect cracks that give light its shape and the future its direction. Alright, that's all for today's movie sharing. Please like, comment, and share. Looking forward to our next encounter.
Yeah!